There have been a lot of stories circulated over the years about Britney Spears. Most of them circle around the media monopolizing, profiting off of her pain and the trauma that was inflicted on her from a very young age. And there's tons of them. There's tons of those kind of stories where, she was used, abused, and then judged for the self-destruction. And I'm not here to focus on those stories. I'm here to tell you a story you may not have heard before, which is that of a 12-year-old girl who used to listen to Britney Spears on her boombox, her little white boombox in her bedroom, and dance and lip sync to everything from the emo nature of Britney Spears' Sometimes song to the the oops, I did it again with the little heart movement. And this girl would watch herself sing. She would watch herself mimic Britney Spears. The power, the confidence, the song. And the purpose of this episode today is to deconstruct the way that Britney Spears is viewed and to share an experience that you may not have heard before, which was the powerful impact that she had on me, because no surprise, I am that 12-year-old girl, and girls of my generation. An impact that she probably doesn't even know that she had, but she needs to know. And y'all need to know, because the focus of my message is this. Despite all of the terroristic ways that power and hungry and greedy corporations try to just extract every ounce of what we are and use us as products, despite that, we can inspire and empower each other. And here's my story with that and Britney Spears, because, she's actually been on my mind a lot lately. And mostly what I've been thinking is sadness, because what happened to her is not right. The story that's been painted of her is not right. And so I'm going to tell my experience with her, because I think there's something you need to hear. And if I could tell her, I would. So if by some magical miracle she can hear this, I hope that she does. So I'm 38 years old. Okay. So Britney Spears was my adolescence. She came to fame when I was 11, 12, and 12 years old, right? Those are formative years. Those are the middle school years where we're changing, we're evolving, we're trying to figure out who we are in the group, out of the group, in our families, out of the families, where we're trying to make sense of the lessons we've been taught subconsciously, who we are without really having the tools to do it because we're 12 years old. And Britney Spears was crucial to helping me to develop my self-confidence and later to me reflecting on my love for things like dance, for images, for everything. And so when I was 12, this, like I said, is when Britney Spears came out with like the Hit Me Baby One More Time, and a few years later, Oops, I Did It Again. Now, she was horribly sexualized, right? Like the concept of dressing a young girl up and just the concept of the little schoolgirl thing is disgusting, right? Like it's a very common sexual fantasy, which is really like indicative of pedophilia in general. So like I'm not saying that her being sexualized in that manner was okay. It wasn't. I'm focusing on her power despite those things. Britney Spears was a fantastic dancer and she was a shapeshifter. That's what I mean by the images that she taught me. I watched her wear all of these different identities. And though I didn't know it at the time, she showed me the multiple layers of divinity and of power that women could wear. And I remember hearing her in an interview when she was so harshly judged by the media for her snake outfit. Like she's wearing the snake and she's got, like the sexy outfit on, and she was judged for it. And she's like, I don't understand. I thought I was wearing my cute little outfit, doing my thing, and everybody's just coming at me. And I want her to know, and I want you to know that there was power there, despite all the criticism, despite all the judgment, despite all the people that were in her ear. Britney Spears was actually embodying with that snake, because I learned that, like many years later, I learned that the snake is actually representative of the goddess, right? And I talked about that with that book, Awakening the Ancient Power of Snake. Like the snake is a symbol of female goddesses. And yes, I would go as far to say that Britney Spears is a form of that, is a goddess in her own right, because of the power and the symbolism that she represented of women's ability to dance, to shapeshift, to reclaim some of our power to be in the spotlight. And I didn't realize it at the time, but watching her wear so many faces and move in so many ways showed me all the different layers of who I could be. And many years later, when I became a mother and when I was in my own, on my own path of self-destruction, going through a horrible divorce and trying to figure out how to support myself and my daughters, I remembered dancing. I remembered because it wasn't just one time. Like I had this little boombox that I would put Britney Spears CDs in and I would play them and I would just dance for hours. I would dance and look at myself in the mirror, singing along to her songs and moving in the ways that she moved, trying to master her moves. And I remembered that when I was in my early 30s, trying to find myself again. I remembered that love of dance. That's how I knew I loved to dance, was because I danced to Britney Spears music when I was 12 years old. And I thought, okay, what's one way that I can heal myself now? Because again, I was in the thick of self-destruction and I knew I needed to get healthier, both physically and mentally. And a memory popped up of that 12-year-old girl dancing to Britney Spears. And I was like, well, hell, I'm going to join the Y and do a hip hop class. And I did. And it awakened a whole path of freedom for me because dance is one of those cultural pieces that a lot of just white Americans have lost. Many of us are actually disconnected from our roots, from our ancestors, and I have lots of reasons for that. But we're kind of just a part of this materialistic culture where we've lost a lot of the pivotal things that make us human. And so I didn't even know that I loved to dance until I danced to Britney Spears. And then as an adult, I was like, oh yeah, this brought me joy. I felt like myself when I was dancing. I felt power when I was dancing, having that control over my body and doing these amazing movements and feeling the music reminded me of who I was. And so I joined a dance class when I was an adult, and I remained ever since. It's been one of the few consistent things in my life of like, I always come back to dance. And I like to sing with it too, just like when I was 12. It was this lesson that I was learning when I was young, even though I didn't learn it. It was this lesson of empowerment through movement. It was this lesson of taking hold of my identity, of shape shifting, of realizing I could grow and change and create more and more. And that's what Britney Spears represented, even if she didn't know it. She showed me, she taught me as a little girl, and then even into my teenage years that, hey, I can wear these different faces. I can move in this way. I can continue to evolve. And yes, I would argue that Britney Spears did evolve. Stay with me on this. Think about all of the different identities that she embodied. Think about like, because guess what? I even listened to her in college. Like I have vivid memories of turning on her music about like being a womanizer and all these different things. Even when I was older, she came back to me. And the toxic thing, right? How famous was that song, that toxic song where she brought awareness to like she made toxic famous before it became such a common word, right? She kind of introduced us to that. And so I'm not naive enough to think that she chose all of the identities that she embodied, right? Like I know that there were a lot of people in her ear telling her to be different things and that it did some damage. But what I'm saying is that despite all of that, Britney Spears inspired confidence in women of my generation, a confidence that I remembered in my adulthood and could hold on to in order to heal. And what I would want for her more than anything is to take that power back, to know that despite some of the ugliness that happened to her, that she found power in how she held the things that were given to her. And I felt it. When I watched her, when I listened to her, I felt her power, not the power of the people who were in the ear, but her power to dance, to evolve into different identities, to show the world what it means to try to grow, to try to be who you want to be, despite all the ways that it's tried to destroy you. And if I had the opportunity to meet her and help her write a story where she could look back on her life and look at what her life now and is now and know that she can take it back, that she can rewrite, well, no, not rewrite, but deconstruct her narrative. She needs to know that she inspired women of my generation. And even now, who she is now and all of her struggles, she still has the power to recognize her power. She still has the ability to look back on some of the trauma that was inflicted in her. And I'm not trying to minimize that. I'm saying she can look back on her life. And if she knew that she inspired people, if she knew that she gave women the confidence that they needed, despite of all the ways that she was sexualized, that she instilled memories in very formal years of people like me that then gave me a powerful healing tool. And this is how the spiritual works. It embeds itself in our spirits when there's traumatic things going on and corrupt ways that people are trying to make money off of others, like what was done to Britney Spears and what's done in like every inch of America, the spiritual can still weave itself in between that and accomplish remarkable, restorative, reconciliatory things right alongside that damage. And in the case of Britney Spears, despite all the ways that she was sexualized and used, she still represented this powerful image of the female goddess that reminded me of my strength, my ability to evolve, and my love for dance, which would be powerfully healing for me for the rest of my life. And I just want her to know that. And I want you to know that the spiritual is not over here and your trauma isn't over here. It's like it's all blended and there's something speaking to you now. And sometimes the most powerful lessons come to us not as a golden beam from the sky, but sometimes through very quote unquote messy vessels. And like what happened to Britney Spears was messy. Someone could look at her and go, oh, she's messy. Okay, well, that's great. So am I. Of course she is after what's been done to her. Yet, in spite of it all, she reminded me of my own power. This morning, I was rereading the introduction to Channy's book, Channy Nicholas's book, The Astrologer, who I'm obsessed with. You Were Born for This is her book. And she has this very vulnerable, powerful story in the beginning of how she came to know astrology. And her first experience with astrology happened when she was a child, where she met someone who gave her a very basic introduction to astrology. And she met this person literally right in the setting of some of her worst childhood trauma. As Channy was sitting in the trauma that was inflicted upon her as a child, she met this person who saw her, who introduced her to astrology, and it planted a seed of who she would become now. Now, Channy, I would argue, is one of the most powerful voices in terms of activism and restoration and equality. And it was the seed that was planted in the midst of the trauma that she couldn't control that grew into something. This is how the spiritual works. With Britney Spears, there was a seed planted in me, despite, what the late 90s and early 2000s was of the sexual exploitation of so many of the female pop stars. Despite that, a power grew. Despite that, Britney Spears had power to inspire young women, even if she didn't know that. Some of our most brilliant insights and help come to us from sources that you would not expect. And so what I'm asking you to do today is two things. Reflect on some of the worst times of your life and see if you can find a moment where there was someone there who saw you, where there was some lesson right alongside the trauma that showed you a piece of who you are, a powerful piece, a healing piece, a piece that you can use to heal generations. Because in my case, dance isn't just about my exercise and about feeling empowered for myself. No, moving my body, being in a community environment, dancing with other people has been healing on a communal level because we're moving together, we're dancing together in a way that is powerful, in a way where we connect with each other. I've built relationships that I otherwise wouldn't have built. And dance has taught me that I can control my body again. It's taught me that I have muscles. It's healed some of the sexual trauma that I have and has encouraged me to encourage others to do the same. And so a lot of these seeds aren't just about us, they're about other people too. And that's a powerful thing. And when we start looking for the remarkable in areas where we wouldn't expect it, we can start noticing how much the spiritual has really been speaking to us this whole time. And maybe, just maybe, we can create a world where instead of people being used and abused and, profited off of, we can create an environment where people feel safe enough to be the creative beings that they are without being exploited. And the first step to that is just your reflecting on the lessons that you learned in spite of the trauma that was right there. Remembering your own power, your own ability to dance, the figures who inspired you, the people who inspired you despite the trauma of the times, because we're in a different kind of traumatic time collectively right now, right? And remembering those who inspired us when things were tough in a different way can give us some clues for how we can start to restore things now. In the case of Britney Spears, it's like, damn, what I want to do with this knowledge now is encourage other women to go, hey, no, no. These parts of you that everybody judged as self-destructive or toxic, or you were maybe used or abused in this way, but it was a double standard because people were telling you, it's inspired me to help women tell their stories. Because there's power in vulnerability for women to deconstruct how they look at their past, how they look at the judgments that have been made about them by the world, and to go, no, actually, this powerful thing was growing right alongside some of that. So it's a seed. All of these things are seeds, and they're important pieces of our future. So take some time to reflect today. And instead of thanking you for coming, I'm going to thank Britney Spears. So thank you. Thank you for the ways that you've inspired me. And I hope that you know about your power and that you can remember and that it's accessible to you even now. You are a powerful force for female healing. And you have the power to take everything that's been done to you and infuse it with your own strength to build a better world where women are no longer exploited, but where maybe we remember that we are the goddesses that created this place and can continue to create and make it better now.